Raising women's voices, one story at a time. Welcome to the She Said Project podcast. Hi, Carrie Rosso.
Hi, Jeanette Jerzyk.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's time for one more really awesome episode of the She Said Project podcast. When you started this movement 10 years ago, did you ever imagine that it would be in 3 or 4 states and over 10 cities by now?
No, honestly, it was meant to be I just about said one night stand. Oops. It was supposed to just be a one night performance. And so even though it's a surprise that it has spread like this, I think that it's the thing that women have been doing since the dawn of time. We just gave it a microphone and a show title, but women are telling stories since the dawn of time all over. Women have been supporting each other.
I love how you say that, but yet I meet women all the time when they're asked to be in a That's What She Said performance. There is this moment of, I get to talk about me. I get to tell a story. I get to talk about me on a stage in front of people. So you're right about the microphone and the title and the platform, but there's also that safety net, that safe space for women to take up space and to be heard and to be seen. And that has not always been so popular.
Well, sometimes what women have to say isn't welcomed by everyone, but there will always be that person that stands up in the back and claps wildly and like, yes, what she said. Always. That's always going to happen. It just depends on, and throughout history, there are times when those things are welcome and the whole place stands up. And then there are times when you say it and one person in the back stands up. So it's just women being brave.
It is women being brave. And we got to meet a new group of women being brave on stage in the community of Columbia, Missouri this past year. And I'm so excited to welcome to the podcast one of the cast members of that inaugural show. Taylor Freeman is on the line with us today. Hi, Taylor.
Taylor.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yay. I'm jumping up and down in my seat right now. I got to be in the audience that night. I made the trip to support Allie Teagarden, our producer, in Como, as they call themselves there at the Como. And was just blown away by this cast of women who really, they got the concept, they stepped in, they owned it. And Taylor, tell us about your experience and the women that you got to share the stage with that night.
It was crazy to even be in a cast among some of the women that I was in the cast with. I think I was one of the early signer honors, and so wasn't really sure what the rest of the cast was. But I remember hearing, the mayor is participating because it was just like, what? Of course I want to do something that the mayor is doing. This is crazy. Among other women as well. I mean, it was just wild to even be considered amongst that group of people in the first place. And now I get to call these women my friends, which is wild as well.
That is an amazing part of the experience once you go through a That's What She Said journey. Yes, they become your friends. Titles don't matter. These are just women in your community, and you now have this experience that you've shared together that just wipes away all of that pretense. We're just real women. And I think that's the point you were making earlier, Carrie. When women share stories, it connects us as people. It connects us as humans.
In the town that we live in, our mayor was also in a show, and one of her castmates said, in the beginning, it was sort of what you're describing, that she said, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in it with the mayor. And she said, now I see her, and I'm like, it's Deb. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I see the mayor of Columbia out and about, I give her a hug.
Barbara.
Which is fun. Yeah.
You didn't just have one mayor. But I can't, you had 2 mayors.
Yeah, I can't be too obvious with my political affiliations, though, because I am a newscaster, so I have to remain neutral. But I do go out of my way to give her a hug.
I love that. Tell us about your life as a newscaster in Como.
So I've been doing the news here since about mid-2021, and I'm a news anchor at the NBC affiliate station KOMU 8. My shows, I do the noon shows Monday through Friday, and I also do the 5 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I do 8 shows a week. I also produce, and I do reporting on top of that on other things as well. So it's a busy job, but really enjoyable and fun. I don't know. I never thought that I would really wind up in this career, but my life, I've done kind of multiple things that added up to it, and it kind of made sense. It translated. Like, I did stand-up comedy, and like the performance element of that really actually helped on camera. And I did, my undergraduate degree is in film and media production, so I have that background as well. It all kind of added up, and I just kind of wound up here, and I enjoy it.
Sounds like it made perfect sense, in fact. I wanted to share that with our listeners because you do talk about how visible you are in your career, in your community, and there's a huge tie-in to the theme of your story. So I'd love to take this moment to pause and let's share that performance that you created and you shared on stage so that our listeners can join in and we'll dig a little deeper. All right, so this is Taylor Freeman on stage in the inaugural That's What She Said in Columbia, Missouri, 2023. And her story, A Woman's Worth.
I have a question. What does it mean to be feminine? And I've always challenged that question. I think back on when I was a young girl and I was considered a tomboy, which we all know it's just the gateway drug to full-blown lesbianism, obviously. I liked skateboarding and I liked t-shirts. I didn't like playing with Barbies or wearing dresses. And luckily, my parents had a sense for who I was early on. I was a sharp contrast to my hyper-girly, boy-obsessed older sister who would tease me and call me her little brother just to upset me and be mean. My parents were fairly progressive for the time, for their generation, that is, but still held certain beliefs that were dated, and unfortunately, those beliefs still made it to me and my sister. Things like, firefighting is a man's job. That was one that my dad would say. He would repeat it often. I stored that away, internalizing that I could never be a firefighter because my dad knows he must be right. He's a firefighter. And a saying that my mom would say from time to time was that a man's worth is in his hands, but a woman's worth is in her face. So I internalized that. And I let it inform how I viewed myself. That no matter what, I just needed to have a beautiful face. That is how my value will be judged by others. That is how you are a proper woman, as if women are just decoration to look at. So these statements and others like it were festering in my mind, unknowingly informing how I treated myself. I was constantly seeking validation through approval of others and needing to feel like everyone desired me. That way, I could confirm to myself some worth that I didn't just feel internally. My confidence was fake, it was fragile, and I was angry a lot of the time and didn't know why. So fast forward to January of 2015, I'm dating a girl with a large dog named Louie. And one night, we were enjoying some late-night Taco Bell on her bed, as college kids do. We don't finish it all, so we just kind of crumple up the leftovers and throw them back in the bag, and we leave her room. She jumps in the shower, I brush my teeth, and I tell her, hey, I'm gonna go lay down, see you back in bed in a minute. So I walk back down the hallway to her bedroom, and as soon as I hit the doorway, her dog Louie is growling at me. So I freeze, realizing that while we were out of the room, he had gotten into that bag of Taco Bell that we had left behind. So I start speaking to him in that really high-pitched voice, trying to calm him down. He was still growling. So I take some slow steps into the room to let him smell me, I think. I've been around for a few months, so I figured that he just needs to remember who I am. So he comes up to my left leg, and he stops growling, and he starts sniffing me. So I think that it's all good. He's chilled out. So I decide to bend over and pick up a wrapper that was right on the ground in front of me. And as I'm bent over, he suddenly lunges at the side of my face, way too fast for me to react. So he gets his jaws fully around the left side of my face, slicing my cheek wide open and taking a small chunk of my ear with it. The ride to the emergency room that came right after that, I was weeping. Not from the physical pain, which did hurt, but I kept saying, My face is ruined. My face is ruined. I was dealing with the sudden thought that I was now damaged goods. I'm ugly. I'm worthless. The physical pain was nothing compared to the torment of what I was already telling myself in my head. But when we experience something like this, a life-altering event, I believe it's ultimately an invitation. It's an invitation to look inward. Because if a scar on my face could damage my ego so deeply, then I clearly didn't value anything that was actually valuable about myself. I started to ask if I even liked myself. So then, a years-long healing process began, going to therapy, looking in the mirror every day, learning and accepting a different face through the stages of healing. And in time, I redefined how I assessed my value, questioning anything and everything of what I believed about myself. And I believe that true forgiveness and acceptance is being able to say thank you for an experience. And ironically, I suppose, I'm now thankful for this scar on my face and how it opened the door for me to really know myself. And some might argue that I'm not feminine, or rather, I don't perform femininity to their standards. Because there are many people out there in the world, here in the Midwest, in Missouri, where I currently live, where they get really upset just by looking at me. And, well, by the way, in the gay community, I am a 100-footer, and what a 100-footer is means you can tell I'm gay from 100 feet away. So people perceive me how they perceive me. But some people call the news station that I work at. I'm a television news anchor, and they call the station, and they send emails just to say that they don't like me because they can't tell if I'm a man or a woman when they call. That's literally the only critique that I get. But I know that these hateful comments aren't really about me. It's just a reflection of them. Back to my original question, what does it mean to be feminine? In the last few years, I started really exploring my gender identity. I got top surgery 2 years ago, where I had my breasts removed and my chest resculpted to look more flat, like a male chest. But ladies, let me tell you, the freedom of not wearing a bra is pretty great. Highly recommend. But just because I no longer have boobs, I don't conform to gender norms, and I have a scarred face, and I dress differently than how women are supposed to, it doesn't mean I'm suddenly not a woman. I'm just doing what makes me happy and comfortable in my own skin. And it's not lost on me, the irony that I now have a career where my face is central to my job, but the difference is that I now know that I offer a whole lot more than just my face.
Wow. I mean, there's just a lot to unpack there. I felt like there were so many things where I was, nodding so hard my head about fell off my shoulders. And then other times, I feared what was coming and sort of on the edge of my seat. And that was a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to remember that moment, the moment of the dog attack.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a fast moment in my life, but it's one of those moments where you describe a before and after event. Even today, as I'm putting on my makeup to go on air, I'm putting makeup on over the scar, which is still very much on my face. I feel very neutral about it now. I am thankful for it, but I don't feel upset over it. I just feel very neutral. And it took a lot of work to get to that point. And I, can't be mad that now I make money off this very thing that I thought was damaged and broken and not worth anything, which is ridiculous.
That's the incredible outcome of your journey. And that's why I'm so proud and excited that you shared that story, because it could have gone a different way. And there are many people who would not have had that resolution to own everything that happened and use it to their advantage and their benefit. But there's something about that phrase that you shared, a man's worth is in his hands and a woman's worth is in his face. And how many generations did that infiltrate and dictate how we treated young girls growing up, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, even with my parents being the more progressive of their generation, really, that still reached me, and it reaches people still to this day. And I hope that my talk kind of inspires people to have a thought experiment in a way that if something were to change their looks or their appearance or their physicality, could they ride through it and come out a better person, or would they crumble under it, And maybe that's an uncomfortable question to ask because, I don't want to change anything about my appearance because I don't want to be quote unquote ugly. I don't want to whatever, I think it's really important to question that and how you would genuinely feel about those things.
Well, and for me, I kept thinking a lot about, I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and it's always been intriguing to me that if you'd asked me before I had kids, I would have said like, no way would that be a struggle for me. And then, but language was, when I was raising them, it really was a struggle to be mindful of, am I saying, oh, you look so pretty? And then what are the comments that I say to my boys? And being really aware of that language because it does shape thought and those perceptions and how they see themselves and what am I perpetuating?
What was some of the feedback that you got after sharing your story? Was that something that a lot of people in your world already knew about that happened to you? Or were there some people who just learned about it that night?
I think that the people close to me obviously know that story, and only the people within my, I guess, inner circle really knew the depth of the story. But a lot of people will even, once I tell them that I have this scar on my face, they'll kind of look and go, oh, I just thought that was like a smile line. So, a lot of people were kind of shocked by my story. I know this is kind of funny, and the pessimistic assumption when I was reached out to for the show, I kind of had the thought in my head, they just want some gay chick, I was like, I need to be the token gay in the show. But my story isn't even really, of course it's part of who I am and I talk about how I find myself. I wasn't going to tell some coming out story. That felt too generic to me. And this felt more true to me and discovering myself, to tell a story about ego and appearance and overcoming those things.
Right.
I guess framed within my queerness, but still,
Right. But that journey is indifferent from whether you're gay, straight. It doesn't matter, that experience and having to face the mirror, I guess, it's something we can all relate to. I love that you brought that up, though, because, Carrie and I, we're very intentional about representation, but we're not putting anyone on a pedestal you don't have one story. Being gay isn't your only story. And we're like, yeah.
Well, when we ask, straight girls, we're not like, and I'd like to hear about when you first knew you were straight.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's representation. One of my favorite 100%. Stories is another, she said, sister, when we asked her, she said, I know you're checking that box, gay. And she's like, I don't talk about being gay and I'm not funny. And then she totally talked about being gay and she was very funny. So it's like, that's your call. It's just representation. You tell whatever your story is. I love that.
Totally.
I do love that you shared, how you look at the world in a unique way and you are so comfortable in your skin. I think that is something to be proud of. And I think that is something that women don't even know. I know so many women who are not comfortable in their skin and don't even know what the next step is. And you really took ownership of your body, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that self-love is the best love I've ever felt. And I just want to continue down that path. People that hate on me or people that have something to say about me or my body or who I am, it's just funny to me at this point because I don't know, I can't be hurt. I'm just so okay with myself. I feel like Teflon, I guess.
You offered the fantasy of never wearing a bra again. That haunts
me.
I still dream about that.
Yeah, no, let me tell you, post-op surgery, I've never worn a bra since. I gave all my bras to my friends because they can't go to waste, but it was very cathartic to get rid of them and salute them goodbye.
Taylor, you are living your best life, and you're living it so visibly and out loud and in a very public way with your career. And I know that wasn't necessarily your choice. It sounds like you fell into that, but I think there's a reason for it. You are there to be an inspiration, whether that was your plan or not, but to really show people that you can just be you and be comfortable and not be so reliant on the myth that we have to be pretty or, that our value is in our face. Your story really, really resonated with me, and I'm really excited to share it with more listeners today.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that maybe it's a little ironic me saying these things as someone who does rely on looks, but at the same time, yeah, just bring those things into question, because even if those messages reached me as like look at me, I'm not your typical feminine woman, but yet I still was so drawn in by a lot of those things. It affects everyone, not just the feminine girls, not just, the traditionally pretty, women. So it's I feel like it's a dangerous thing a lot in our society in a way, and we got to break that down a little bit.
Well, and I love the redefining that you're on TV and other young girls and women are seeing that redefining of what is beautiful.
Totally. And I think my presence on television here in mid-Missouri might be more valuable in this moment than, I would love to move back to California where I'm from and, live in my hometown or live by the beach again. But right now I am going to be here because I honestly think that my presence on television is actually more valuable here in the moment.
I love that. You can have way more impact in the community that you're in. When did you move to Como, and where were you in California?
I grew up in Ventura, California, which is like just south of Santa Barbara, if you're familiar. Just about an hour-ish north of Los Angeles. But I moved to Kansas City in 2019, late 2019, and then applied to grad school at Mizzou and got in for 2020. So I've been in Columbia since about 2020.
I lived in California for 10 years. I loved it so much. I'm always fascinated when I meet people who left California to come to a Midwest state. And I'm always like, why? Why?
Yeah.
I want to know the reason.
I was in a serious relationship. I was trying to be a team player. She didn't like living in California. She was from Kansas City. So I was like, okay, I'll move. And so then I kind of just got left here in a way. But hey, it's a good thing.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah. Hey,
impacting lives.
With a new career. Yeah.
Doggone it.
Yeah. But hey, I really have a desire to move back eventually in time because I think I want to live on a boat. I think that is where I'm headed.
What?
Yeah. Like buy like a nice small boat, but has like a bed, in the underbelly so you can like, live on the boat. Yeah. Heck yeah. And then just, cruise around and like swim around.
You are full of surprises. I did not see that coming.
Hey, I would love to have you ladies on my boat one day.
Ooh.
So.
It's a done deal. Done.
Yes.
I'll take you up on that. That is awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure to get to know you through, your time with That's What She Said in Como. For our friends who don't know, we held our very first women's conference under the She Said umbrella this past October. We called it The Power of Storytelling, and we did something very unique to celebrate our 10 years of That's What She Said and welcomed one woman from each performance that was hosted in 2023. And Taylor actually made the journey to Champaign to perform her story on a new stage in Champaign, again, for a new audience. And so we actually got the privilege of meeting her in person and getting to know them and your girlfriend, who is stunning and wonderful. And it just made it so much sweeter. And so, when we were booking for the podcast, we're like, yes, obviously we want to talk to Taylor. And your story is so profound. I think it will resonate with girls everywhere who are getting mixed messages, who are getting messaging that they have to be a certain way or look a certain way. And I love being able to provide an opportunity for them to think differently. There isn't one mold. You get to be you, whatever that means to you. Go for it.
100%. Definitely.
So I think we'll follow Taylor for a while, and when you're on your boat, we'll check in. And
yes, please do.
Maybe there'll be another podcast episode. I don't know. But I'm so grateful to have you in the She Said circle now, in the sisterhood, and we were excited to see what happens in Como as the movement continues. So Taylor, thanks for your time today. Carrie, it's been another awesome day in the studio. I love this. I love getting to chat with these incredible women and learn. I learned from everyone. I learned from Taylor. I learned from every woman we get to chat with. So,
and we got an invite to go boating with her. So
I know. I think I'm going to go start packing. So
all right, let's go. Bye, Taylor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be a part of this She Said family.
Yay. And thank you to all our listeners who are also part of our family today and forever here on the She Said Project podcast.
Over and out.
Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast in partnership with Illinois Public Media. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project and That's What She Said LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com. This podcast was made possible with support from Carl and Health Alliance and presented by Sterling Wealth Management, empowering women to live their best lives.
Thank you, Taylor.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that awesome conversation.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.